Coronavirus fears are sweeping the nation, the number of confirmed cases continuing to tick up. It's changing life around the world. And here in the U.S., it's changing the other big news story of the year, the election. The three major candidates, that's President Trump, Joe Biden, and Bernie Sanders, are all changing their messaging to confront the crisis. So, where do they stand on coronavirus? Let's start with the incumbent, President Trump. The current commander-in-chief declared a national emergency.
I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words.
But not before several weeks of mixed messaging. He went from calling the virus a hoax.
And this is their new hoax. But you know, we did something that's been pretty amazing.
To banning travel from Europe for everyone but American citizens. To signing a $2 trillion stimulus bill.
But I wanted that to be a nice signature.
Which includes $1,200 for adults making less than $75,000, a $500 billion loan program for large businesses, expanded unemployment insurance, and loans to small businesses. Notably, President Trump's own family business will not be able to receive any loans from the relief bill. It's the biggest stimulus bill in American history, but there's still a lot to be done. President Trump said he'd enact the Defense Production Act to manufacture more masks for healthcare workers and desperately needed ventilators.
We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it.
But it took weeks for him to actually invoke the act. Trump's own public health officials have frequently contradicted or even corrected his statements.
Hydroxychloroquine. Now, this is a common malaria drug, and it's shown very encouraging, very encouraging early results.
Is there any evidence to suggest that, as with malaria, it might be used as a prophylaxis against COVID-19?
No, the answer is no.
And as the economy continues to take a hit, the president has said he wants the country to open for business again as quickly as possible.
Ultimately, the goal is to ease the guidelines and open things up.
The Federal Reserve has jumped in to try to keep the economy above water, slashing interest rates to zero. All of it calls into question Trump's biggest talking point, that Americans are happy with his strong economy. And how he handles the escalating crisis will be critical to the nation's public health, financial health, and the health of his campaign. Next up, Joe Biden. He's criticized the Trump administration's response.
What's going on? Who's in charge?
The former vice president released a detailed plan to combat coronavirus, including free testing and eliminating all cost barriers to treatment for the virus, creating an emergency paid leave program for infected workers, giving small businesses interest-free loans, establishing at least 10 mobile testing sites per state, and preparing hospitals for an influx of patients. Biden also called for restoring the National Security Council's Global Health Security Office, which President Trump eliminated in 2018.
Our government's ability to respond effectively has been undermined by hollowing out our agencies and disparagement of science.
It's a lot easier to try to maintain the economy. The most effective way to do that, simply stated, is to make sure that every worker in our country keeps receiving his or her paycheck.
Senator Bernie Sanders also released a plan on coronavirus. He's calling for all healthcare related to coronavirus to be free.
We have millions of people who may be dealing with the virus, but who cannot go to a doctor because they cannot afford it.
Sanders has been calling for Medicare for all throughout the race. The two Democratic candidates debated whether that would be the right response to this crisis.
I obviously believe in Medicare for all. I will fight for that as president. But right now, in this emergency, I want every person in this country to understand that when you get sick, you go to the doctor.
With all due respect to Medicare for all, you have a single-payer system in Italy. It doesn't work there.
Sanders has also called for emergency funding for paid medical and family leave, unemployment compensation, food access, emergency homeless shelters, and emergency funding for small businesses impacted by the crisis. The coronavirus crisis has changed the 2020 race, and it's given us a window into how these candidates might lead in a crisis, and a chance to assess how one of them is leading right now. So as we get closer to the election, we'll be keeping an eye on the candidates and their response to coronavirus developments.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.